All right, welcome back to the channel. I got Ryan here with me again today. My wife was supposed to be here with us, but she chickened out at the last moment. What we're going to do today, we're going to stir the pot a little bit. We started last week with, is it a real Harley Davidson? What is a real Harley Davidson? And I'm kind of going off one of the comments that I got. Said what you really don't need to worry about is if you're a real biker or a poser. So I got to thinking, what is a real biker? And me and Ryan got to talking about it. My wife talked about it. And you know, what is a real biker? Are you a real biker or are you a poser? I don't know. Are you? Am I a real biker? Am I a poser?
I really don't know.
I don't know either.
We might find out here in a minute.
So what do you think about the real biker or poser thing?
Well, personally, I think the definition, if you will, of a real biker has changed over the years. You know, I mean, what we grew up with our idea of a biker is not necessarily true now. You know, I mean, times change.
They do.
Times change. So do people. You know, I mean, it's not the typical greasy hair, dirty clothes. You know, everything's about the lifestyle.
So you mean the movies have been lying to us all these years?
Quite possibly.
Oh well.
You know, but it's not all about that and the, you know, everything revolving around the lifestyle that it is now, that it was then.
You mean to tell me that Sons of Anarchy was not real bikers?
Oh man, I wasn't even going to touch on that. I mean, to me that show, I mean, I don't have anything necessarily bad to say about that show. I mean, it was entertainment. You know, I mean, it was basically a soap opera for men.
It was. And going there, I'll say that as far as a poser goes, the only people that I've ever seen that I have ever thought in my head, hey, that's a poser, is a guy riding down the road with a Sons of Anarchy cut on. That is a poser.
Well, see,
No self-respecting person,
right,
that goes in and out of the biker community at all is going to wear that jacket.
Well, it's kind of like a, quote, cowboy working on the ranch with his Yellowstone vest on. Or a Yellowstone cap on.
Unless he's working at Yellowstone.
Unless he's working at Yellowstone.
Or the 4 6s.
Yeah. But that's funny that you mentioned Sons of Anarchy. That's, I mean, I for one, I liked that show.
It's a great show.
When it started.
I'm just watching it right now.
And then it kind of got out there, you know, pretty far. But when it first started, yeah, I liked it.
I'm watching it for like the third or fourth time,
right.
and then watch the Mayans.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is they keep teasing, saying there's going to be another, like the first 9 or something like that.
Sure,
anyway,
sure.
So I want to make sure that I keep abreast of the situation going on. So when it does come on, I know what's going on.
Right. But you know, as far as a biker versus a poser, you know, you gave your idea, and I think mine is similar but a little bit different. To me, the word poser is you're trying to make people think you are something you're not. And you know, here locally, folks, we have a great Harley dealership here in town that does, you know, several what they call party on the patios. I mean, I know there's several dealerships throughout the country that do that, but we have one here. And I've seen people at those events that dress the part, look the part. You know, they've got their boots on, they've got their Harley t-shirt on, you know, but probably have never swung their leg over a frickin' bike.
I agree.
To me, that is the definition of a poser. Trying to make you think that, you know, they are
It's-
something they're not.
It's the same thing as the Kardashians wearing a Slayer shirt.
Sure.
You know they've never listened to Slayer.
Right.
They probably couldn't even name this song. So it's kind of the same thing what you're talking
Sure,
about.
absolutely. You know, I mean, I've seen people in dealerships that are, you know, that as soon as a salesman comes up to them, they already start talking about what they already have,
Yeah.
and you can tell right off the bat that they rehearsed that before they came in because they wanted to have a conversation with the salesman.
Right.
You know, oh yeah, you know, I've got a 94 model Fat Boy, you know, da 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 da, and then they start naming off all kinds of stuff, and none of it makes any sense.
Right.
But they're carrying on a conversation, and they're getting to look at new bikes, so they feel like a quote biker.
Oh, and right now, before we go any further, I just want to say that I never claimed to be a biker. I'm certainly not a poser. But being a biker, I think is maybe subjective to each individual, because what I consider to be a biker is someone who rides their bike on a regular basis, you know, goes to the rallies, immerses himself in biker culture. Because if you're not doing those things, you're not a biker. I mean, you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan rides, I ride. We're both right now immersing ourselves in biker culture because we sit around and talk about motorcycles.
Sure.
And my wife included. She can, man, a year ago,
Oh, I know.
I would
We had
have
this
never
conversation.
guessed.
Yes,
I would have
we had
never
this
guessed that
conversation.
she would know which end of a motorcycle was which.
Right.
But now, she can sit and have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
She has valuable information to add to the conversation. It's just really, really weird.
Well, and it's good to have people with different experience levels, you know,
Sure.
because I've been riding I couldn't even tell you how long I've been riding. I know you've been riding for quite a while, but then we take somebody like your wife that is, you know, just starting out. She's been riding for about a year,
Yeah.
you know, and her experiences, you know, are that of the novice, and it's probably stuff that we forgot that we went through.
Sure, sure.
You know,
And,
so
you
it's
know,
good. It's good to have that. It's good to have that side of the conversation too.
With that being said, I'm getting to experience learning how to ride a motorcycle all over again.
Right.
Because everything she does, you know, in essence, I'm going back in my mind, what did I think whenever I was doing all that? It's
Right.
It's kind of weird to me, but it's a lot of fun at the same time.
Sure.
But does that make Christy not a biker because she's only been riding a year? She rides her bike more than most guys I know.
Right. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, I really don't like putting the biker label on somebody. You know, I mean,
But is she a poser?
no, I wouldn't say she's a poser.
Okay.
Right now, if I had to label somebody at her experience level and her time that she puts into riding, I would say, if anything else, she's an enthusiast.
She is definitely an enthusiast. We have spent, I don't know how much money on that motorcycle.
Yeah.
Got that new windshield laying right there that we're going to do a video on tomorrow.
Yeah.
She has done things to that bike that I've never seen another one like it for sure.
Right. Well, and that's part of it too. You know,
And I'm glad
make
she's
it,
getting into that.
you make it your own. No matter what you're on, you make it your own.
And I'm glad that she is doing that because it shows that she does have interest.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't just sit in the garage polishing it and putting parts on it.
Right.
She gets out and rides it. It's got bugs all over it.
Yeah.
She gets out and rides it. And so a lot of people see her riding around with me on my big green Harley and this little maroon Honda riding behind me. And she rides behind me, not because I don't want to ride as slow as she does, to be honest with you. She's very careful, and she says, this is what she says: "Hey, I'm just enjoying my ride. I'm cool with that.
That's what it's all about.
I am absolutely cool with
What
that."
it's all about.
But I told her, I said, you know, we are on the highway.
Yeah.
You need to kind of go with traffic.
Right.
But she she she's enjoying her ride. I'm gonna let her enjoy it. You know.
Right. Well, going back to what we were talking about, I would definitely not label her as a poser. I mean, the bike spends more time outside of the garage than it does inside the garage.
I kind of poked fun at her last week, and you did too, about her. She went and got a cap, and it's a Harley cap, and we kind of poked fun at her a little bit because she doesn't ride a Harley,
Right.
but she did buy her motorcycle at a Harley Davidson dealership.
Yeah.
So it says Kent's Harley Davidson on the back. She's repping where she bought it from. That's what she told me anyway.
Right. Maybe we should get her a little Honda pin to put on it.
We need a little Honda pin.
I have a Honda shirt.
But with that being said, she wears Harley gear.
Yeah, she just bought a brand new Harley helmet.
Does that make her a poser? That certainly doesn't define whether or not she's a biker or not.
Right.
But I don't think it makes her a poser. Her husband rides Harleys.
Yeah.
Her husband has spent too much money on a new Harley Davidson. So I think she can wear that cap all she
Part of
wants
it.
to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't know if the guy that made the comment, if he was being serious or if he was just stirring the pot. Because some people do that, they get in there, I'm going to stir the pot.
And it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But it isn't the first time I've ever heard it either.
Right.
So that's why I thought, well, you and I can get in and stir the pot a little bit too and see what we come up with.
I've never been known to stir the pot. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Sons of Anarchy aside, don't ride a Harley aside, most people who ride a motorcycle are riding it for pleasure.
Yes.
There's very few people that ride them out of necessity. Some people do.
Yeah.
There's very few people that ride them out of necessity. So we're all doing it as a lifestyle or a hobby, so to speak.
Right.
I won't call riding a hobby, but putting all the parts on it and cleaning it and taking it and showing all your friends, and that's a hobby.
Sure.
Hot rodding is a hobby.
Sure.
So is my.
I was about to mention that. I have a classic muscle car,
Yeah, you do.
and I don't spend near as much time with it as I should, but it's not as much of a lifestyle for me than riding a motorcycle is.
Right, and there actually is, a lot of people know that there is I don't know what you call it, a hot rod lifestyle. It's a counterculture kind of thing.
Sure. I have to balance what I do, and right now I'm more focused on motorcycles than I am classic cars, even though I do love them. It's sitting in the shop in a climate controlled environment. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's well taken care of, and it's there when I want to enjoy it.
Right.
So, does it make me a poser? Maybe, but it's sitting in the shop, so I really don't think so.
I don't think the poser thing is way back when, go back to the 80s and punk rock and skateboards. Posers were a big thing then because there was a lot of guys who wore the Misfits t-shirt and had a mohawk and all this kind of stuff. Because of the skateboard.
Because it was the in thing. It was the style. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about, the guy walking through the Harley shop just wanting to have a conversation with the salesman and make himself look good.
Right, but then these people hung out with all the skaters and they just weren't.
Yeah.
Some of them were musicians that I knew that were playing punk rock. I didn't really expect them to ride a skateboard. They were into the other aspect of
Right.
it. So it's those were posers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I remember the term
Yeah.
from when we were kids.
And the all these, the Kardashians and what are their sisters?
Oh, don't even get me to lying.
What are their names, Christy?
Do what?
Oh, what's her name that used to be a man? His daughters, the Kardashians.
Oh, you're talking about
Bruce Jenner?
Bruce Jenner, yeah, the
the girls.
Jenners.
Yeah.
They wear all the Slayer and Metallica and
Yeah.
all that shirts too.
It's because it's the style. That's all it is.
I mean, I've been in style all these years.
Right? No kidding.
Shoot.
No kidding. That's what I tell my dad, I mean, I've told you before, he looks like the typical old, West Texas rancher with his hat on and his long sleeve shirt and his boots and jeans and suspenders, but he'll be the first one to tell you he's more Led Zeppelin than he is George Strait.
Right.
And one of his favorite bands in the world is Metallica.
Well, see, there you go.
For a 73-year-old man, there you don't hear that very often.
No, you don't. Although you're starting to hear it more and more.
Well, yeah, because we're all getting older.
We're all getting older and older. But, so I guess we need to figure this out, Ryan. I don't know quite exactly how to define a biker. A real biker. Now, we were talking about a real Harley.
Yeah.
And I got all kinds of comments on that. This being one of them. You concentrate on being a real biker instead of a poser. So, I'm trying here, man. I'm trying so hard to be a real biker.
When it comes down to it,
I don't want that guy to be mad at me. I'm really worried about it.
right? I mean, I understand. I'm right there with you. I mean,
I'm really concerned with making him happy.
sure. I stay up at night.
Yeah.
I mean, but
So what do we do to?
it's to me it is like I said, it's just a lifestyle thing. I mean, if you enjoy being around motorcycles, if you enjoy riding them, if you enjoy working on them, enjoy cleaning them, which I don't, but I still do it because it has to be done. First and foremost, you're an enthusiast.
Sure.
But while that's going on, you can start to consider yourself a biker. I guess just by the attitude you have towards the lifestyle. I mean, if you're accepting to others and out having a good time, to me, that's a biker.
Okay, so just to recap, the Sons of Anarchy was not a real show. Make sure I got everything going here. The Mayans weren't real. And, those were about clubs, and I'm not going to take anything away from any clubs.
No, absolutely not.
I think those shows took away from some clubs,
Sure.
but
It painted a picture that really didn't exist in a lot of aspects.
yeah, it did, and it was one of those situations to where, talk about putting words in somebody's mouth. They kind of took some real stories and turned them into fiction, which is done all the time.
Sure.
But people think that's what a biker is. I just wonder if am I supposed to be that way?
I think that's what the general stereotype is.
Well, what about club bikers in general? They have a set of rules. They have a code. That code has changed, and so have the rules over the years. I don't speak from experience, but because I'm not a club member,
No.
but I do know that those two things have changed over the years.
Sure.
They keep to themselves 99.9% of the time. You hear about them in the news every once in a while, and that's about all you ever hear about them is the bad stuff. They do toy rides, they do charities, they do this. So I'm gonna call those guys bikers. Because they are doing the toy runs. They're not the Sons of Anarchy. We're gonna, run a bunch of guns. Maybe they are. Shoot, I don't know what they do. But they live the life.
Yeah. Yeah. They're hitting the not only the high points, but they're checking all the boxes.
They're checking all the boxes, yes, sir.
You know, I mean, some people out there, they don't necessarily check all the boxes, but do you have to?
I don't think you have to.
In general, do you have to?
I don't think so.
You know, I mean, if every one of us checked all the boxes, we'd all be patch holders.
Well, and that being said, you and I, neither one can be patch holders.
Right.
So, you know, does that make us any less of a biker?
Right. Yeah.
Neither one of us could ever hold a patch in a 1% club.
Right.
So, I know some guys that are 1%ers. I know quite a few of them.
I know several. Yes.
They don't look at me any differently.
No. No.
If I came and tried to join their club, it'd be, hey, Mike, you know, maybe you might want to go rethink this.
Right. Well, in fact, you know, I think that people like us that do associate or, you know, at least have associates that are patch holders, and we do communicate with them. We do see them on a regular basis. We'll see them out riding, you know. I think there's a certain level of respect that they have for us being who we are and still going out there and enjoying the lifestyle.
Right, right. Yeah, because kind of on opposite ends there. But what about Power Rangers? That's an entirely different set of rules.
It's an entirely different lifestyle, for one thing. I mean, I've had sport bikes.
I've never had a sport bike. The only thing I've had was the first sport bike, a Yamaha Seika 750. And I love that bike, actually.
Yeah, great bike. You know, I've had my first motorcycle that I bought myself was a Honda NX 125, little enduro. You know, a little dual sport. It was a fun little bike. I outgrew it in less than a year, but that was my first one. And I remember it to this day. It was solid white and nothing fancy about it, but you know what? I got on it, I rode it to school, and you know, I loved it.
I'm going to say there's a certain level of those guys who are bikers, because I do see them at rallies. They do go on the runs. They go on to Sturgis. They go to the Lone Star Rally. There's a certain amount of them who are just bikers riding a different kind of bike.
Sure. I mean, now
they are 100% totally immersed in the motorcycle lifestyle.
Yeah. You know, it's but I've had just about every type of bike you could think of. You know, I mean, I had that NX. I've had a couple of Yamahas. I had one Ducati, which I loved. I loved my Ducati. I mean, it was a great bike. Very, very maintenance intensive.
Yeah.
You know,
very expensive.
But and that was the main reason I let it go. You know, just because I didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to maintain it the way it should be, and I went back to Harley. And now I ride a Road King that, you know, is, you know, the stigma behind that is that Harleys are highly maintenance intensive.
See, I was
They
told.
are really not.
Now, I was told that every yuppie in America rides a Road King. That's what I was told, man.
Hey, if I'm a yuppie, I'm a yuppie. I love my Road King.
I have been told that, but
Well, I mean, if we're going to start taking shots at each other,
no, I'm not taking shots. I'm saying there's guys. These are bikers that have said this.
Well, I mean, I was, you know, I'm pretty familiar with the common term of the Me Too bike.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, you walk into a place and say, "Hey, what do you ride?" I ride a black Street Glide. Hey, me too, me too, me too.
Yeah.
You know, of course, you know, you ride a
I ride a green one.
green Street Glide. So,
I got another one over there in the Kents too, another green one.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So now there's going to be another one.
yeah. It's terrible. That's one thing about mine is, you know, it's 17 years old. Still beautiful. It's a beautiful motorcycle. And as far as I know, there's only one other one in town the same color. And I've only seen it a handful of times.
I want to say I have seen it.
Yeah, and it's trimmed out a little different. It's got some different parts on it and stuff. You know, so it doesn't look exactly.
Well, 17 years, you have time to personalize it.
Oh,
maybe your own,
absolutely.
So they're going to be a little different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mine looks like every other green Street Glide at Harley Davidson right now,
Batteries
except for
not
some
included.
highway pegs.
Batteries not included.
Batteries not included.
Right. So, but anyway, back to the poser versus the biker. You know, at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters. If you're doing what you love,
you guys feel free to comment on this one and say whatever you want to say, because this is really kind of done in jest, because it was kind of funny to me. It's kind of a non-issue on any level, and both of us thought it was pretty funny that somebody would even post that on. And if you posted it and you're watching this, hey man, I'm not calling you out. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, because who really knows the difference?
I don't know that there is a difference. I mean, you have patch holders. Okay, that's a group over here. You have your enthusiasts, like you said, guys who just started riding. There's a ton of those.
Sure.
Do they get in your way and cause a little trouble? Maybe.
Sometimes.
But hey, I'm all for it. Get out and
Everybody's
put your knees in
gotta
the
learn.
breeze.
Everybody's got to
learn.
learn.
And I'm all for more people coming into the lifestyle.
Sure.
So I'm not mad about them learning how to ride, and I just wish they would ask more questions.
Right.
New riders need to learn to open their mouth and ask, hey.
Well, my thoughts on that is, you know, just like in my professional career throughout the years, I would always tell people, if you don't know the answer, ask.
Sure.
And if you do know the answer, go ahead and ask anyway, because you might find a different point of view, and you know, make an improvement on what your idea is, and you know, be able to perform a little better.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, there's no stupid questions. There's only the ones you don't ask.
All right, Ryan. With that being said, I think we're gonna call a duck a duck, and a goose,
And a poser a poser.
and a poser a poser. Really, we got nowhere in this conversation
Not
because
really.
there's nowhere to arrive to.
Right. There's really not.
And
But it was a fun conversation.
it was
We
a
just
fun
gotta-
conversation, and I'm hoping that people watching will enjoy it and get a laugh out of it, maybe,
Sure.
and maybe lighten up a little bit, because you don't have to be so heavy all the time. You don't. Well, you know, I'm a biker. And I'm bad. I'm the manliest man that ever was. You know, you don't have to be that way every
The number one thing
second of every day.
The number one thing that I can think of is, you know, we always, I mean, in anything, you hear old school versus new school.
Sure.
Okay. And one thing that is the same across the board is everything changes.
Everything changes.
changes.
And the other thing that's the same across the board is that we all share an equal love for motorcycles.
Sure.
The guy that rides 10,000 miles a year probably loves motorcycles as much, maybe more, than the guy who puts 20,000 a year. You know, you just don't know. You don't know that guy. I don't know you. You don't know me. You don't know what's in that person's mind and heart. You know, You can't read somebody's soul and say, "Well, you're not a biker." You know, the lawyers and bankers and all the guys that are weekend warriors. You know, we call them weekend warriors. A lot of people call them posers. Yeah, maybe some of them are. Maybe that's where the term comes from.
Well, you know, those guys. Number one, they have the means.
Sure.
They have the means to make a purchase like that they don't have to use for primary transportation. It is strictly a recreational vehicle.
And they can afford to go to the rallies. They can afford to put all the bells and whistles.
But at the same time, to be able to afford that, they have their professional career, and you know that's a whole different mindset. You know, I mean, personally, I'm not going to get in my $1,000 suit and jump on my Harley to go to work.
I don't even know $1,000 suit.
Right. Well, I don't either, but it was just a statement.
I would definitely be a poser.
But yeah, I mean, you know, if I was an attorney and I had to dress the part, I'm getting on the bike to ride to work in my suit.
Right.
I'm going to save that for the weekend. And as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what they do. You know, do they live two lives? Maybe. Are they posers? Possibly. But to me, they're still enthusiasts.
They are enthusiasts because they do hit the rallies. They do all those things.
Sure.
So all in all,
and these days, without people like that, we probably wouldn't have a whole lot of these rallies.
No, we wouldn't, because the rallies are getting smaller and smaller. They're getting less and less organized,
and more expensive.
And more expensive, yes. And so it's kind of a dying thing, and it's not dead by any means, but things are definitely shrinking.
Sure.
So there you have it. A biker's a biker. A poser's a poser. You choose which. I really don't care which.
Right. Biker's a biker, a poser's a poser, but we're all enthusiasts.
We're all enthusiasts. That's right. So until next time, we'll see you later. Be sure and like and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.